Hi students, in this video I'm going to talk about the rise of Roman civilization and the emergence of the Roman Republic. First, as we have with all these ancient civilizations, we're going to look at the geography of Rome, and we're going to look at the geography of Italy. What we see is that Italy, the peninsula of Italy, looks a lot like the Greek peninsula that we've been focusing on for the last couple of weeks. Surrounded by sea, it's long and narrow. There aren't a lot of rivers running through the Italian peninsula. But there are a couple of important differences. The first is that the majority of the mountains in the Italian peninsula are to the far north, and they serve as a barrier to invaders rather than a source of disunity for those living within the peninsula. And the couple of rivers that we do see, including most famously, of course, the Tiber River, are rivers that help connect the Italian peninsula. So it's not so much that these rivers are the great rivers of the Tigris and the Euphrates and the Nile that are important sources of irrigation, but they are important sources of trade and connection. And when we look at the geography of Italy, we see that the geography of Italy is much more conducive to the unification of the Italian peninsula than the geography of ancient Greece is. And this is how the city of Rome is going to grow. It's going to begin as a Greek colony on the Tiber River. It provided good access to the interior, but also good access to Greek merchants coming from overseas. And over time, it grows into a prosperous trading city. Sometime around the estimated date is 500 BC, the Romans drive out their kings and replace their kings with a republican government. And this means that Rome is going to be ruled, at least at first, by a senate, and then they're going to be popular assemblies, something that's more like a House of Representatives. That's going to emerge a little later on. What's important to remember is that the reason the Romans remove their kings is because they see them violating their traditional values. And it becomes a very important part of Roman cultural identity that Romans don't have a king, that they have a republic. But this isn't as much of a revolution as some of the actions later in European history that remove kings, such as most famously the French Revolution are. French Revolution is a dramatic changing of the values of this society, or it's an effort to dramatically change the values of the society. For Rome, this removal of the kings is not really a revolution because it's an effort to maintain the values of their society rather than change them. From this point onwards, Rome is going to expand its influence throughout Italy, and we're going to see over the course of the next 200 years that the Romans display a great deal of loyalty to their city-state, a great deal of commitment and tenacity in building and expanding their control within the Italian peninsula. And different Italian city-states would come to acknowledge Roman sovereignty, and there are a couple of reasons why they did this. The first is that Rome provided you with protection against the ferocious tribes of the Gauls and the Germanic peoples that lived the other side of the Alps that could come raiding down into Italy through the mountains. The Romans provided a stable army, a successful army to help defend your city against the Gauls and the outsiders. Another reason is that the Romans allowed their allies a share in the spoils of war. And a third reason, so it was a way to become more wealthy. And a third reason is that the Romans did not require direct taxation from their allies. Taxation was pretty limited. You had to provide manpower for the Roman armies, but that was about it. So what we see with the Romans and their expansion into Italy is that while no one likes being conquered by anyone, if you're going to be conquered by anyone, probably best in this world if it's the Romans. The Romans are seen as benign conquerors. From this point forward, beginning around 280 BC, we're going to see the expansion of Roman influence throughout the Mediterranean. The first episode in which this takes place is when Pyrrhus of Epirus, who's the ruler of Macedon at this time, attempts to invade Italy and defeat the Romans. And he does so on behalf of some of the Greek city-states on the eastern coast of the Italian peninsula that were still resisting Roman rule. Pyrrhus of Epirus wanted to trace the footsteps of Alexander the Great, his ancestor. He wanted to build a giant empire, but he wanted to look to the west and build his empire in the Western Mediterranean. And he hoped that defeating the Romans would be a way to achieve this. Even though he defeats the Romans in the first couple of battles, the Romans refuse to surrender. This is really important because they eventually wear Pyrrhus down and defeat him. This establishes Rome as a major power in the Mediterranean. The Romans have taken on the all-conquering Macedonian armies and they've defeated them. What's even more significant is that they've proven to their allies in the Italian peninsula that they don't give up. They fight on to the end, and in the end they win. This is going to be especially important in Rome's next great conflict, which is against the city of Carthage. Carthage was initially a Phoenician colony on the coast of North Africa. It becomes wealthy as a center of trade in the Western Mediterranean. And as Carthage grows and as Rome grows, their spheres of influence start to collide. And both start to feel threatened by the other one. And this comes to a head over the island of Sicily. Sicily is connected to the Italian peninsula after a fashion. It's also very close to the North African coast. It's a gateway connecting the Eastern and Western Mediterranean. So it's a very important location. And the Romans and the Carthaginians go to war over who is going to influence Sicily. And initially, the Carthaginians have the advantage because they have a powerful and experienced navy. They're a country or a kingdom of seafaring merchants. Once again, however, the Romans display their tenacity. They work out how to build ships. They work out how to maneuver their ships, even though two of their fleets are almost completely sunk by their inexperience and inaptitude. And in the end, by refusing to surrender, they grind the Carthaginians down until they're able to defeat them. This brings an end to the First Punic War. Punic Wars are the names for the conflicts fought between the Romans and the Carthaginians. So this war has come to an end. However, a second Punic War breaks out when the Carthaginians attack the Romans led by their famous general Hannibal. Hannibal was determined to defeat the Romans, avenge the defeat Carthage had suffered in the First Punic War. He leads his army most impressively and most famously over the Alps and into Italy, surprising the Romans and defeating them through his military genius in a number of battles. However, Rome's Italian allies do not give up. They remember the previous wars. They imagine that the Romans will hang in there, will be tenacious, and eventually will be successful. And that's actually exactly what happens. The Romans stay in the game, don't surrender, learn new tactics and new strategies, and end up defeating Hannibal, and this establishes Roman dominance over Carthage. There's going to be a third Punic War, but this is going to be a very small affair in which the Romans are now so powerful that they can defeat Carthage very easily once they see Carthage threatening to expand again, and the city of Carthage is completely destroyed. After this, we see the Romans expanding their influence into Greece and conquering Greece, so that by around the year 140 BC, Rome is dominant in the Mediterranean. This dominance is a result of Roman bravery, Roman refusal to give up in the face of difficult and challenging situations. And it's a result of the good relations that existed between the Romans and their allies who they had asserted their sovereignty over. The peoples that the Romans conquered, willing to remain loyal to the Romans and to fight for them.